Okay, so when you're wanting to start a new field, you need to get your client farm field and your client farm field and event correct. So just hit new, and we're going to leave it here as test and test, and then in my field name we're going to just name it, because we're going to be working on a pad or something, pad 1, and I don't care what this field name is, we just want it unique. So we hit save, and then now we've got it selected and saved. Now if the screen has data, this will be a background, Google Maps background, but since the screen does not have data, that's what you're going to get. Alright, you hit the back button, and then this task, if it is red, then you need to just tap it and either create a new one, or if it's red, it'll also come up here and say fix, and you just hit fix. We're not too terrible worried about that. Now that you've got a field name in there and you're ready to go to work, you hit the green guy running, and it should pop over here into the field, and there's nothing shown up in this field page. So to set a new field, you just hit the water droplet, and actually you hit the survey tab and you record a benchmark. Be sure this recording source is on implement, and you hit record. Now it is counting down from 30 seconds. You just sit here and wait. Be sure your blade is on the ground. You should be sure of that before you hit start on the benchmark. So put the blade down on the ground, hit start, and then wait on the countdown. If you do not wait on the countdown, you run a risk of not getting a accurate benchmark position. So please wait on the countdown. Okay, once you've got a base, then or a master benchmark, go across the screen to the left hand side to the water droplet here, and then select simple plane, and now select your master benchmark. If you've got multiple benchmarks in here, they are where the height of the field, the grade of the field pivots from. So your master benchmark position would be the position of a traditional laser setup. You can select however many benchmarks you want. You cannot select multiple benchmarks. You need to select which benchmark you want to pivot your grade off of. In our case, it's going to be the master benchmark. We'll hit next, and then here's our primary slope, and we're going to just put in a 2/10 grade, hit done, and then primary heading. Do you want that water to flow north? You'd leave it at 0. Straight south, you'd put in 180, and then east or west, you could put in 90 or 270. Your cross slope, do you want it to have a compound grade? You put in, we're just going to do a 1/10 for this scenario, and then this cross slope heading, you can just hit flip to turn it the other way. So you notice that your master benchmark is up here, and then at 180 degrees, which is straight south, we've got our primary slope. And then the most slope in our design is now at a 22.5 degree, I believe, whatever that is, it's at a 1/10, it's a 1/10 straight west, and so this would be the maximum grade in this design. The water flows up the way the arrows point. Water flows at straight south or southwest in this scenario. Height above pivot down here is going to be staying on 0, because we want our master benchmark to grade, or to come to 0 at our master benchmark. If you wanted to raise that point up where you master benched, you would put in, let's just say, a foot. You would raise that up a foot. If you wanted to cut a foot, or you knew actually what you wanted to cut, you could do that. In our case, we're going to leave it at 0. Going to hit save, and it's going to ask you to name your design. So we're just going to hit a pad. You can name that ditch, you can name that whatever you want. Alright, to get out of that, you've got to hit the guy running. This is Trimble's version 16. That may change in the future. Alright, come across here to the opposite side, hit your water droplet on the other side, which is the right hand side, select the pad, and then you can see here that your primary slope is 1/10 or 2/10, your cross slope is 1/10, and your primary heading is 180 degrees. Alright, if we would have set our that height above pivot at a foot, this would show a foot of field. If we would be cutting a foot, it would show a foot of cut. Alright, that's how you set up a field or a grade for a pad or a tailed edge. Now, you can come over here and add more designs. That's not a problem. So we want a flat design. We just hit save. I'll name it flat. Go back to our guy running, go back to our water droplet, and here's our flat. We can select it. 0, 0, we're on grade. You can add a third one. Let's just say our field grades at 1/10 to the east. We're going to say that. Be sure to name these. Hit the guy running, come to the water droplet, and there's our pad, there's our flat, and then there's our field grade. Each one of these is going to show up. If you have a survey and have a multiplane design control file loaded, it will also show up in this list. So you can have multiple designs to choose from here. Alright, under this settings is overcut protection and design offset. Those are more for advanced guys. I'm not going to go through those in this video. Possibly we'll make another video. Alright, to rebench, you just come here to your benchmarks button, and then you select these 3 buttons and hit rebench if you need to rebench. Be sure it says implement and then rebench. We're going to cancel because we don't need to do that. Alright, we'll talk through offsets here yet. So on offset 2, I am adjusting the number at 100th at a time. On offset 1, I'm adjusting it at 2.5 tenths at a time. I will go and adjust that to 1/10. Generally, I have 2 offsets. One's 100th and the other one's 1/10. That is settable in the settings. You can also hit the numbers. Say you want to move 2 foot up. There's your 2 foot up. You can come in here and pop a 0 in there and you're back on it. That's how you raise and lower. Alright, you can pinch zoom to be able to see your pan if you want to. And your automatic. Turn your automatic on by hitting this green button. And then of course on the John Deere you just click in your remote and it takes control of the automatic. Shut it off. You either hit the remote or come up here and hit this button.